Hello, everyone. This is Fireside Yankees, your one-stop shop for Yankees content, and I'm Ryan Garcia, joined by Alex Wilson. Today, we've got a pretty special episode as we're giving 3 bold predictions for this upcoming offseason. We've got 3 each. It's not just 3 total. We're going to discuss them, break them down, but before we get into everything, Alex, how you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk about the Yankees for the second day in a row. I know a lot of people love the Ryan and Alex duo, the vintage duo from a long, long time ago when the dinosaurs were still roaming the earth. Ryan and I were talking Yankees baseball. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited for this offseason because the Yankees really get to define it. This is a situation where it's never been more true, Ryan. They need to put a competent product on the field for Aaron Judge. They need to be confident this team can win a championship next year. There is no more time to waste. There could be a 2027 season, or there might not be due to that CBA. They can't be sitting with their hands underneath their buttocks waiting for things to happen. They need to make it happen. There is no more time. There's no more time to waste. Hal Steinbrenner's got to give Cashman the green light. Go build a super team. Go compete with the Dodgers. My butlers are still showing up at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning to get me my eggs ready, and my sheets are made, and my laundry's folded. That's just the reality. I think that this is now becoming about legacy, Ryan. This is no longer about pride. It's more about legacy. And Steinbrenner's legacy at this moment is the guy who wasted Aaron Judge's prime years. He needs to change that, and the only way to change that is to go to the top of the market and say, "Give me the best players available. Get me those guys. We'll figure out the salaries. We'll manage things. We have money coming off the books in the future. There is no excuse right now." And I'm excited to talk about some bold takes that can hopefully rejuvenate this team and get them to a position where we can feel confident they can compete with the Dodgers if they get to the World Series again.
Absolutely, and I just lost my breath there almost. I mean, let's just get straight into these hot takes. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell if you like these videos. And I'm going to get it started with my first one, which is the Yankees trade Jason Dominguez to the Kansas City Royals. So I've been kind of pounding that drum of the Yankees are going to trade Jason this offseason. I think it's going to happen. That's just where I think things are going to lie, or where the cards are kind of lining up. And I think the Royals are the team they trade him to. The Royals are a team that desperately needs outfield offense. This past season, their team on base percentage was 309. They slugged 397, a 706 OPS. In the outfield, their OPS was 617, so a 70 WRC plus, a 283 on base, 333 slug. Jason is a cheap, massive upgrade on the offensive side of the ball for the Royals, and the Royals have some they have some rental pitching that the Yankees might be really interested in. Chris Bubic is someone who I think would make a lot of sense, put up a 2.55 ERA. I know he's left-handed, and people are going to say they can't use another left-handed starter. I kind of don't care about starter-handedness, and if Bubic isn't very effective as a starter, or isn't one of their 3 or 4 most effective starters, in 2024, 2.67 ERA, a 32% strikeout rate in 30 innings as a reliever. So Bubic, someone who can move in a starter-reliever role, gets a lot of ground balls, gets a good amount of swings and misses. Alex, what would you think about the Yankees trading Jason Dominguez to the Royals, and what would it take for you to be happy with that kind of move?
I'll play it right into my bold take, and I think that the Yankees will ultimately hand Spencer Jones the keys to a starting job in the outfield. And I think that is going to open up the door of making Jason Dominguez expendable. I know a lot of people really do not like this topic, and we've talked about this before, Dominguez's defense in left field and yada, 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 but people will say, well, he's naturally a center fielder, put him in center. He's not a good center fielder either. So, this is a player that has a humongous red flag. And look, I'll sit here and tell you, he could get better. He could improve. But he is currently at the peak of his athleticism. He is, 22, 23 years old. He is fast. He's agile. He's just not, mentally there when it comes to reading angles and making good decisions in the outfield and, just altogether a solid piece. The athleticism isn't translating to highlight reel grabs, diving catches. His positioning is off. His angles are wrong. His glove work is bad. There's a lot of problems there, and they all have to get better simultaneously for us to feel confident that he can be a future starting outfielder for this team. He's a switch hitter, but he's horrible against left-handed, it's left-handed pitching. As a righty, he's a bad hitter. So I don't even really label him a switch hitter. I label him more of a platoon left-handed outfielder right now. That's really what he is. If we want to label Jason Dominguez of what he is, he's a left-handed platoon batter right now. And if you don't believe me, Ryan asked Brian Cashman to his face about the outfield, and Brian Cashman said we had 2 vacancies in the outfield, which suggests Jason Dominguez is not considered a starter. Right? They had 2 vacancies. Now they only have 1 after getting Trent Grisham back. They're looking for another person to start. They don't view Jason as a starter. which is exactly what he said for the most part. So I'm not going to sit here and say like he can't get better. I do think he can, but Spencer Jones is a good defender on day one. He's a good base runner. He can give you 20 plus home runs per season. He's a slugger. Yes, the strikeout rate's concerning. Yes, that is something that we will have to see improve, but we've seen other players get better in that regard. If that's the one thing he has to work on, if that's the one thing he has to channel all of his growth and development into, lessening that strikeout rate, lessening the whiff rates, I think he can get better marginally in that category. If he can get down to a 28, 29% strikeout rate, you're talking about pretty normal level stuff for elite level sluggers here. So not to mention a great defensive player with great athleticism. So I think that as a center fielder, Spencer Jones could absolutely win that job long term, especially if Trent Grisham doesn't take significant steps in the right direction after last year's metrics. But I think, to kind of talk about the Royals here, Dominguez being traded to the Royals, like you said, need outfield support. You like Bubic, like there's talent there. Like you solve a problem for them, they solve a problem for us. I don't see why that's a bad thing. It really just depends on how they feel about Spencer Jones, but I do think they like him a lot. Otherwise, I think he'd already been traded.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to the Yankees and their organization, their situation right now, I am very confident in saying the Yankees are going to shop at the top of the outfield market and land a top outfielder. I'm not saying it's 100% or 90%, but I would be pretty shocked if one of Bellinger or Tucker weren't on the Yankees next year. I mean, it's possible, don't get me wrong, but given that that's a likely outcome, the corresponding move after that, and both of them are left-handed, would be to consider moving Jason Dominguez. Spencer Jones, a little more roster flexibility because he's a center fielder. He can be in AAA to start the year, or he can make the roster on opening day. That's kind of up in the air, but there's a little more flexibility with what you can do with him as a player on your roster. So again, I think that ties into kind of where our minds are at with the outfield, which is that the organization is going to have a pretty big outfield shakeup outside of that center field, left field situation. I mean, Bellinger coming back feels more likely than them signing Tucker. So if they were to bring back Bellinger and Grisham, it'd be the same outfield alignment. But I think it's that fourth outfielder. The guy who gets the fourth most outfield reps will be different from Jason Dominguez. I don't think it'll be Jason. He doesn't fit that roster in that scenario. Again, they have to find a really good right-handed hitting outfielder to make Jason work, and that's really hard to find on this market. One of the top guys for that would be like Taylor Ward, who was just traded to the Orioles. So again, just not really seeing where that fit is there. But Alex, as we kind of keep rolling through the hot takes and the predictions here, this is staying on the outfield conversation. The Yankees, my prediction is the Yankees sign Kyle Tucker, but it's to a deal that's under $35 million a year. So my understanding with the Yankees situation and how they view Kyle Tucker and how the league kind of views Kyle Tucker, Alex, is that he is not an airship carrier. He is not a franchise guy. He is a good player, a great player, a star player, but not a franchise guy. $400 million, don't think that's in the cards for him anymore. I would even say $300 million might be the higher end of those offers. So I predict that the Yankees sign him to a 9-year, $300 million contract. That's $33.3 million a year, way below where I think a lot of people would have had him at entering the offseason. But Fangraphs projects a $280 million contract over 8 years. Again, a lot of the verbiage, a lot of the conversations I've had with people have been, I don't know if there's really a Tucker market out there. So my prediction, the Yankees go out and they stomp on that market. They swipe him from free agency, and that's what the Yankees should be doing. Alex, how would you feel if the Yankees signed Kyle Tucker to a 9-year, $300 million contract?
I mean, 300 divided by 9, let's see here. So you're talking about a deal that's worth $33.3 million per season. So he is currently 28 years old, which means that it'll expire when he's 37. That is not a bad age for him for a long-term expiring contract. Like, he can still be a productive offensive DH at that age, Maybe he even transitions to first base. Who knows? Like, there's a lot of reason to believe that Kyle Tucker will be effective well into his 30s, and I think that is... I'm comfortable with that contract. $33 million 5 years from now is going to look like an absolute drop in the bucket for these big contracts, guys. Like, this is a fine expense, and the reason I say that, well, you're getting $15 million off the books from DJ LeMahieu next year. You're going to be getting $22 million off the books from Giancarlo Stanton after 2028. You're going to be getting $36 million off from Garrett Cole long term. Like, the Yankees have money opening up on the books, over the next couple of years. They can pay Kyle Tucker $33 million per season. It's about years and guarantees for him. And he's 2 years younger than Cody Bellinger. So you're getting one of the most consistent offensive players in baseball. And I'll tell you this right now, if something ever were to happen to Judge, knock on wood, if he has to miss time, you have another superstar that can carry the load for you. Like, That's what you really need. Like, I love Cody Bellinger. He was a great player for us, but he's volatile. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Cody Bellinger's carrying this offense if Judge has to miss time. We saw it last year. It did not happen. You know what I mean? Like, we lost Judge for a couple weeks, and the team fell apart, and they did not really recover until the last 2 weeks of the season. So, you know, I kind of feel as though you need that insurance policy to Judge, and Kyle Tucker is the best on the market. He is the guy that you want to pick up the slack if things go astray due to injury or whatever reason. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally good with that deal. I think that the Yankees would sign up to do that, or they should sign up to do that immediately if that was the case. He's only 37 when it expires. I don't think that's something I could possibly turn down personally.
The way I look at it with Kyle Tucker is I think his market sucks. I think his market's terrible, and that is a little bit concerning. Like, why is everyone kind of simultaneously out? But I think that also has to do with the dollar amount. Again, if Kyle Tucker is going to everyone and saying, hey, I want $400 million, and everyone kind of looks at themselves and looks at each other and looks at themselves and goes, I'm not giving that contract.
Well,
that makes sense.
You want to know why? Because the Dodgers aren't going to pay it.
Yeah.
If the Dodgers aren't willing to pay it, the market suddenly disappears, right? Last year, the last couple years, Dodgers dishing out hundreds and hundreds of millions and this and that. The Mets got Juan Soto last year for $700-800 million. Like, right now, the market's probably like, the Mets aren't going to probably give him $400 million. They probably aren't. They, like you said yesterday, they have Carson Bench on the cusp. I mean, they have Jeff McNeil and Tyrone Taylor. They probably need 2 outfielders realistically. But I think they will. I don't think they're going to drop another $400 million on an outfielder personally. If they have other needs, they need to bring back Pete Alonso, Edwin Diaz. Like, they have other big expenses. The Dodgers aren't going to give him $400 million. We've already seen reports they're not going to be the highest bidder. So now Kyle Tucker's market is depressed. Not because he's a bad player, because I just don't think the teams that are the heavy hitters are really going to expend that much on a player like him. So that actually benefits the Yankees. He may fall right into their price range, what they're willing to give for a player like this. It may end up benefiting the Yankees to a level that we didn't really foresee because the other big hitters are just not willing to give that type of money right now.
Well, the issue is, and this is where I get worried, is that, okay, you drop down to $300 million, everyone's willing to do that probably, or at least some of the bigger market teams are willing to do that.
Let's say where he wants to go then.
Right, so that's kind of where I'm just like with the Yankees. Look, if that market is truly bad, and this is a bull take. That's what bull takes are for, because we're kind of going out there on a limb and saying, I'm going out there on a limb and saying Kyle Tucker's market might suck, and that the lack of teams interested might indicate that his market might suck, and that if that's the case, the Yankees should jump all over it, because if they jump all over that, I think they're going to end up being the best team in the American League and potentially the best team in baseball. Now, to kind of segue out of this, because you can kind of see my documented takes on Kyle Tucker really anywhere. I have not been shy about my feelings on Kyle Tucker. Alex, what's your next hot take? What you got for us?
My next hot take is that the Yankees will bring in a starting caliber infielder to compete at short and third base. And I think that what Cashman said, the bottom half of the order is just too many strikeouts. That's not going to change for Ryan McMahon. That's not going to change for Anthony Volpe. And I don't even know if it's going to change for Austin Wells. So right now, the Yankees need another contact approach at the bottom of the order, someone that they can depend if things are going, guys going through a cold stretch, injuries, whatever, they can balance the table here. Look, I don't know who this is going to be. You guys know I love Brendan Donovan. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel about him again because you guys know my take. I love this guy. I think he should have been a Yankee for the last couple of years. He's an insurance policy at second base. He can play shortstop. He can play third base. Like, he can do all you need, and he's a tremendous leader. Like, a great. The Cardinals do not want to trade him because he is their locker room. Like, he is one of those type of guys. But you put him in a winning environment with this type of coaching staff, with this type of support, we may not have seen the best version of Brendan Donovan, and he's like 28, 27. Like, I'm taking a shot on that, you know? So that would be my preference, but, you know, there's other players out there. There's other guys. Also, being that fact that he's still in arbitration is good financially for the Yankees, so I think that's also a selling point. But my other hot take, my other bold take will flow into this one, but Ryan, I'll let you kind of respond to that first and foremost.
So first, I want to say when it comes to the Yankees adding another infielder, I don't think it's the worst idea, number one. Number two, I think it would give them more protection. I mean, Volpe's coming back from surgery in his labrum, and they have underplayed the severity of that surgery time and time again. Like, it initially started out as he's fine, and then it became, oh, he actually has had a labrum tear dating back to before that, even that play against the Rays on Sunday, on that Sunday game. So, Alex, like, that is that is very concerning. Also, I think it was a Saturday game, not a Sunday game. I apologize. There is really no world, in my opinion, where Volpe comes back on opening day. He's going to miss time. Caballero will start. Is there a world like is it something where it makes sense for them to bring in a starter? I think it does, or at least like a guy who could start in a pinch. Again, there will be games to be played. The DH spot will be open at times because guess who's going to need time to be on the IL? Giancarlo Stanton. Mm-hmm. Does that mean the Yankees can have games where this secret utility guy either plays DH or Judge plays DH? Could Brendan Donovan play right field at Yankee Stadium? Yes, anybody could. Anybody. Matt Carpenter played. I keep referencing it. I know it's like really like I'm beating a dead horse here, but Matt Carpenter in the year 2022 played right field for the Yankees in 96 innings. So anybody can do it. Brendan Donovan's played some outfield. Like, he could play some right field, give Stanton some days off. He could play some third base. He could play some second base. He can play some shortstop in a pinch. He can even play some first base. Crazy enough, if you need to catch Rice and put Wells out of the lineup for a little bit, or you want to DH Rice for a game and put Donovan at first? I don't even know. Maybe Donovan has the ability to pinch in a spot, play some left field. But I think he plays enough positions where he could get 130 games in. It's kind of like, I think the other guy for this would be like a Cosmo Okamoto, like first base, third base versatility. He doesn't have that shortstop versatility, but you wouldn't start Donovan at shortstop maybe every single day. So maybe that doesn't really matter as much, but I do like the idea of like the Yankees bring in basically a 10th position player, because Goldschmidt played a lot. The Yankees had 10 position players get tons of playing time this year, so I definitely could see it. And this might play into my take as well. We have a lot of synergy in our takes. This was not on purpose. We actually, when we were putting this together, we explicitly said that it does not have to work. Like, my hot takes do not have to be something that would coexist with Alex's, but I had Oswaldo Cabrera getting traded away. Jose Caballero feels like the better utility guy. Oswaldo Cabrera is primarily beneficial against right-handed pitching. I'm not saying they have to push him out of the door, but they got a lot of trade interest in him last year. I believe that was a Brendan Cuddy report, if I'm not mistaken. Oswaldo Cabrera getting traded away is not far-fetched. I think it would make sense. Maybe you can get a reliever for him, and maybe it opens the door for that acquisition of a utility guy. Again, if you're looking at this roster right now, the bench is Caballero, Cabrera, Vivas, and Escara. That is their bench right now, at least projected, I think, on Fangraphs. That is not a bench that makes a lot of sense. There's a right-handed hitter in Caballero, and then a lot of guys who are better against righties than lefties. So Oswaldo Cabrera just strikes me as maybe he can play some shortstop in a pinch, and that's his value, but could you do better? Could you look at Caballero as your primary utility guy? Because if we're going to have like a primary shortstop while Volpe is gone and my options are internal, I'm picking Caballero. And I'm not really, like, I know this is utility man versus utility man, but Caballero's uniquely fast and has unique speed abilities, so that gives him the edge over Cabrera for me. Alex, do you think Oswaldo Cabrera is on the opening day roster for the 2026 Yankees?
I mean, you just don't need him. Like, at this point, like, Caballero's under control for a couple more years, and I love Cabrera, great dude. Like, I wish he was more valuable, but he's a lefty platoon, like, utility man. Like, and his defense has actually fallen off, which is another concern. Like, what we saw a couple years back when he had, like, an insane run in the outfield and he was making all these plays, like, that's not the same version of Cabrera that we've seen as of late. He's just a great locker room guy. At that cost, 1.2 mil, it's like, why not just keep him? But at the same breath, you could say, well, you got Caballero. You could bring back like Ahmed Rosario, but then you have two righties. You really want that lefty platoon. So I don't necessarily know. I think that it's not unreasonable to think that he could be traded by any means. So looking at Cabrera's value, I think I prefer Caballero to play. If it's a defensive situation, I probably am going with Caballero at second, third, or Cabrera could play first, shortstop, the outfields, but you're sacrificing the bat too. I think Caballero is a better hitter, even though he did have a crazy kind of situation. Like, his splits with the Yankees were so good compared to the Rays. Like, he had an 84 WRC plus. The Rays at 226. With the Yankees in 40 games, had a 134 WRC plus, 266 average, like, and 15 stolen bases. I mean, just his base running alone, you can't have him on the bench. You know what I mean? If it's between him and Oswaldo, unless like you have Oswaldo playing a specific spot he's just better at, or he's against right-handed pitching, like, and you just want the bat in there, Caballero like is the better player. So I think that right now Cabrera is expendable, but also he's like, his value is at the lowest it's ever been, coming off a fractured ankle. So it's like, maybe he's the type of player you move at the deadline. Someone who may be able to regain a little bit more stock, and then you sell when his stock is recovered a bit.
Yeah, with Oswaldo Cabrera, I think the one area where you could kind of say, hey, this can make sense for the Yankees to keep him, is you have him as your platoon outfielder, or excuse me, platoon shortstop, where he plays shortstop against righties and Caballero plays against lefties. Caballero's offense against righties is bad; it's poor, and that does matter to me. But I'm not sure I'm like in love with that idea. That's just my personal preference, but we'll see. I just don't know if he's the best fit for this roster, as you alluded to. But Alex, I've kind of ran through my 3 hot takes. It's time for you to deliver your third and final hot take.
So my third and final hot take is certainly a bold one, and I think that it predicates itself on the Yankees getting Tatsuya Imai, the Japanese ace who is not short. He's 5'11", Ryan, and he's
dude. I wish I was 5'11".
Me too, man. Me too.
3 inches is a big deal. Big deal in this world.
It is. Yeah. You fall below 5'9", and you're the pool of candidates to date gets halved. It's crazy. That's just the reality in today's day and age. But unless you're throwing nice fastballs and sliders, then I think the height variable becomes less important. But Imai has unbelievable stuff, right? He's got a nasty fastball, a nasty slider. He just introduced a sinker. Like, he doesn't give up home runs. He wants to beat the Dodgers. Steinbrenner said they're always interested in Japanese players. Like, all the stars are aligning for the Yankees to get this player. And if they do, you have a rotation now that includes Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Cam Schlittler, Will Warren, Luis Gil, Imai, and you have Elmo Rodriguez Cruz on the bend, and Clark Schmidt, who's recovering from Tommy John surgery, and Ryan Yarbrough, who could spot start for you. So you have more arms than you could possibly need. And that gives you value, right? That gives you opportunity. I think in this instance, my bold take is the Yankees will end up trading one of either Will Warren or Luis Gil because they can use that as a critical component of a deal to upgrade a different spot, whether it be outfield, whether it be an infielder, whether it be, I don't know, anything, a bullpen arm. Like, I don't know if I love trading and starting for bullpen arms unless it's like a really good deal, but like, you know what I'm going with this is just you have now assets you can trade out of a strength. And the Yankees, you get Imai, you have an embarrassment of riches at starting rotation, and Warren's valuable. He's a mid-rotation arm for most teams in the MLB. Luis Gil, he could be a top tier starter for most teams in the MLB, assuming his health. So, I do think that the Yankees have an opportunity to have some trade resources to reinforce other positions. That way they can keep costs low. Those two pitchers are valuable, and I think that the Yankees might be more willing to part ways with them now than before. Now that they know Cole is on the mend, and if they get Imai too, who's a big addition to this unit.
The way I look at Will Warren and Luis Gil, and I say this with kind of an interesting. I mean, it's interesting because I think both these guys have cases to be really good starters next year. Like, Luis Gil is a couple of tweaks away from getting back to being that, 3.5, 3.4 ERA guy, strike out over 27% of batters faced. That's a number 2 starter in a lot of rotations, and he was a number 2 starter caliber guy in 2024. ERA was good this past year, but everything underneath tells you, hey, this is not a guy you really want to be all that in on. Now, for Will Warren, same thing. Like, I think Will Warren's very much a capable starter, and I think can become a mid-3s ERA guy for the Yankees eventually, similar to how we saw Clark Schmidt struggle in 23 and then really take off in 24 and 25, unfortunately cut short by injuries in both years. Now, the reason I think that these two guys will have value on the trade market is pitching is becoming more expensive than ever before. The phrase cheap pitching isn't really a thing anymore. What makes Ryan Yarbrough such a desirable contract is that it's a 1-year, $2.5 million deal for a guy who might be able to take the ball for a start. That's what makes it like, oh my gosh, yeah, you got to sign that deal. The value for guys who can take the ball and start, Alex, is through the roof. Frankie Montas got a $17 million a year deal with the Mets, knowing the risk that comes with the arm and the struggling performances. I know he didn't pitch well, and I understand that was not the only outcome you could have foreseen there, but it was an outcome the Mets were definitely thinking could happen, and it did happen. Now, if you want to look at some other kind of comparable contracts, Luis Severino got a $20 million a year deal after being a league average starter who just pitched a ton in 2024, and he got it from the A's. Granted, might have been a way for them to avoid paying or avoid dealing with the Players Association, but I don't think that's why they signed that deal. I think they thought, hey, he could be a productive starting pitcher for us. Some other guys on the pitching market who got pretty big deals in recent years. You look at someone like a Michael Wacha, got a $54 million contract for 3 years. Kikuchi, $18 million a year, 3 years, same deal. Jack Flaherty got that big contract that we saw this past year. So, I mean, pitching's expensive. It's just expensive. If you can get someone to trade for Will Warren and Luis Seal and get an impact player, I think it's definitely on the table and something the Yankees should consider. But I think both of them will have significant trade value because they're both, again, like they're both arms. They're both arms. They can both start. That is incredibly valuable on its own right. Alex, any final thoughts on these 6 hot takes, excuse me? Which of the ones did you pick that you thought was the most realistic, in your opinion, at this point?
I think Spencer Jones making the opening day roster is realistic. We saw just how tremendous he looked in spring training 2 years ago, and that was 2 years ago. I think he's gotten a lot better since then. I think that I don't get the sense the Yankees have that much confidence in Jason Dominguez. I mean, otherwise, Brian Cashman wouldn't have literally said to your face that there's 2 vacancies in the outfield. So that alone tells us a lot. I think that there's going to be a position battle. I think Jones is going to make a strong case. So I think that that's a realistic possibility that he does make this opening day roster. I would say that, I mean, Jason being traded also is not ruled out. I'm not going to say it's like realistic or unrealistic. I'm going to say it's a possibility. And I also think trading from their rotation is a possibility. If they get I would not be surprised if somebody got traded. I still do think they're going to bring back Cody Bellinger. I still do think that's their preference. But I also think the Mets like him a lot, even if his swing isn't necessarily like tailor-made for it. And, you know, Kyle Tucker, man. Like, the Yankees can afford him. They actually do have the money right now, believe it or not. They have $255 million in projected total asset allocations, which gives them $45 million to $300 million, and then an extra $20 million to get to $320 if that's where the Yankees end up. So that leaves them with $65 million. And if you're paying $35 million to Kyle Tucker, that leaves you with $30 million left over to address. You know, you could go get MI for 25, and then you have $10 million left over to go get a closer or even trade, for somebody in arbitration that has low contract. So the Yankees have the money. I don't think any of these are like egregious by any means. I think a lot of them are predicated on other moves happening first. Aside from, I think Spencer Jones making the active roster, opening day roster is one of those. I think that's probably the one I feel most confident about right now.
I will say the one I feel the most confident in on my side is, I'm going to go on a limb here. Kyle Tucker. I think that's the most realistic one. I think Kyle Tucker is falling to a price range where the Yankees will be comfortable paying him, especially if they're comfortable paying Bellinger, like $8 million, $7 million less per year. So yeah, I don't know. Like I think there was a price range for the Yankees and Tucker, and same with Bellinger. To that note, and on your end, I think the one that I'll give you the one I liked the most, and the one I think is the most likely. I liked the starting caliber infielder one probably the most. I think that's the one where it's like, ooh, that's the most, like, this roster's really freaking good. And I'll say the most realistic is the Warren or Heel one, because I think Cashman's going to make what the hell did you just do kind of trade. He does one every year. 22, you had Josh Donaldson becoming a Yankee with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, or at least ahead of that season. 2023, I guess there wasn't really one that comes to mind, because he didn't have a really big deadline at all. And that offseason was Judge and Rodon. If you want to look at 24, Jazz Chisholm kind of came out of nowhere, and Alex Verdugo. Oh my God, Alex Verdugo. Yeah, that calendar year was 2023. 24, Jazz. I think the Yankees shooting for Devin Williams was crazy. At this year's past trade deadline, there weren't a lot of like complete head scratchers. I guess Camilo Doval came out of nowhere. I never thought the Yankees I didn't get any like tip off of the Yankees trading for Doval. And McMahon was pretty out of there too. I didn't think the Yankees were getting Doval. So every single year, whether it's the deadline of the offseason, every single calendar year, there's something where it's like, what the hell did you just do? And I think there's bound to be one. So, Alex, I think your takes are the most realistic. I think if I were to bet on any one of them happening, I would bet from your three take pool versus mine. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Which one did you think was the most realistic? Which one do you want to have happen the most? You can vote in the comment section below, drop your take, and give us your bold predictions for this upcoming offseason. We appreciate your continued support. Again, like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell to support this channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Perfect.